Acknowledge that we are gathered here today on Treaty 4 territory, the ancestral land of the Cree, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Nakota, and Lakota nations, and the homeland of the Métis people. My name is Melissa Shaw, and most of you know me. I'm the General Manager of Cultural and Aquatic Services. Just a few housekeeping things. Our washrooms are just located at the back of the gift shop on the right-hand side of the hallway, and our garbage is just in front of the servery as well as a recycling. Before we begin and get too far, I would like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors, the City of Swift Current, Sask Lottos, and Sask Culture for their continued support of our programming at the museum. Today, we are honored to be joined by Icasiana de Gala. Icasiana is an internationally trained lawyer who practices out of Anderson and Company and is no stranger to supporting our community. So please join me in welcoming Icasiana to talk about empowerment through education.
My name is Icasiana de Gala. I'm a graduate of the University of the Philippines with a degree in psychology, and I am a member of the Philippine Bar. I graduated from the Ateneo de Manila University School of Law, which is the top law school in the Philippines. So what? I've heard that many times. Not that I have introduced myself that way to many. This is the first time I've said that entire paragraph. But that was the comment that I've heard before. So what? I arrived in Canada in 2009 with my degree and my English, because I've heard people ask me as well, well, you've been to Canada only 3 months. You speak very good English. So I said, I came to Canada with my English. It's probably not perfect, but it is my English. I don't have the accent, but it is the way I speak the language. It is my second language. So I said, so what? Because it's not just, and mostly I've heard that, not from Canadians actually, but a lot of immigrants as well. So what? What does your degree mean here in Canada? I heard someone tell a friend of mine, she said, it doesn't matter what your degree is or what your status is in your country of origin. Why? Because we will be cleaning other people's toilets, all of us. So I'm like, I don't want to clean other people's toilets. Sorry, you're eating. I don't want to do that. She can do that. I will not do that. Not that it's not, I'm not looking down at the job, but I know my capability and my abilities. And there was also a story of another lawyer from also a newcomer from another country, came here. It's a good person. I've met this person. One time I was going for gas, and he was working at the gas station filling gas. This is a lawyer from his home country, a lawyer probably with more than 10 years of experience. I stopped on my tracks and thought, I don't want to have him serve me. I don't want him putting gas on my car, because I felt that I was him. This guy was a lawyer from his own country filling my own gas, filling other people's gas. So I thought, I felt pity in a way that someone of his stature, of my stature, would be doing that in another country. So I told another newcomer, I said, I saw this and this, and he was filling gas, and I felt so bad that he was doing that. And she said, oh, don't worry. He's probably earning more here as a gas attendant than being a lawyer in his home country. Then a feeling of confusion in me, right? Okay, so is it okay if I just serve gas and not pursue my career or my career, right? Because I would be earning more than I was when I was in my country, or in that case, that guy in his country. Then I had a friend, again, who told me when he learned I was coming here, he said, Icasiana, rich people do not go to Canada. Please, I am not a rich person. He just thought being a lawyer and all of that I earn enough money. So I said, one, I'm not a rich person, but I told him, don't worry, if serving coffee would be the only job available for me, I will be the best person in that company who will serve you coffee. So that was the mindset I had. In my first few years in Canada, someone who the career back home, those are the typical things that you would hear from other people, either Canadians or newcomers. It's the same thing. Mostly newcomers, you'd be surprised. So what does my degree from the Philippines mean here in Canada? One day so we just moved house, and I was going through my things, and I saw my diploma from my career, from my degree in the university, and my law degree, and my certificate from the Philippine Supreme Court of me being a lawyer. So 3 of them, I looked at them, and they're already crumpled and yellowish and all, and I hung them even in the Philippines. So I looked at them, I thought, you know what, I have no place to put them. I don't know how to keep them properly, well, I don't know how to properly keep them. So I thought I'd buy some picture frames and hang them. So I hang them, looked at them, I posted it on Facebook and said, I worked tears and sweat and tears to have this, to have these degrees, but what do I do with them now that I'm in Canada? And there were very beautiful comments from people. You worked hard for that, things like that. But then again, as a newcomer in Canada, when you go and even apply for jobs, and I would look for what the person, because I worked at the Welcome Center, I've seen so many resumes of people applying there, and I would be like, okay, this person did this, did this. But do all employers do that? For example, in some banks, their requirement is, I don't know up to now, up to grade 12. And here you have a newcomer who may have a PhD degree and other things, but may not get the job because someone else who has graduated grade 12 from Canada would be the more preferred candidate. So again, how do you use your degree in a new country where it may or may not matter? So I changed my perspective. You know, like I said, I've never really introduced myself. I'm Icasiana, I'm a graduate of this, this, this. So I said, you know, I'm Icasiana, I worked in this field. This is what I did. This is how I communicated with people. These are the achievements I had. Not referring to my degree, not referring to my school, because here it wouldn't matter what school I had, but in the Philippines, those are gold schools. I would say the University of the Philippines and Ateneo de Manila University are 2 of the top schools in the Philippines. But again, I don't even tell people that I graduated from those schools because, again, it doesn't matter where you graduated. It's how you present yourself, how you come across with people. Language is very important. It is very important because communication is how you get the message across. So most of my main work in the Philippines as a lawyer in the Philippines was also in nonprofit organizations. before coming to Canada, actually, I never said the word I'm a human rights lawyer, but coming here, I thought, you know what? I was a human rights lawyer in the Philippines, so now I have that extra layer of, when I say I'm a lawyer, I said, well, I'm actually a human rights lawyer, because people would think, okay, so you work with corporations, you work in this kind of field, you work in this kind of, I should not be saying this because one of my bosses is here. He might say, oh, probably I should not have hired her. But those are the main work that I did. Human rights lawyering for labor, for farmers. By farmers, I don't mean the farmers who are here. It's a different kind of farming in the Philippines. Abused women and all of that. That was the kind of work that I did. So when I came here, I thought, even if I become a lawyer, how do I apply that in the work that I'm doing? But the discipline, the thinking process, you just develop that when you're, as a lawyer, you develop that and you apply that to how you will do your job here. So coming here, I started working with the city of Swiftcurrent. I sent out so many job applications when I first came in. I did not grab the first job that was available, which was at serving coffee. I said I would be great at serving coffee, but I'm like, oh no, there are probably some other jobs available. The opportunity to work with the city opened sometime, probably March. I came November 2009, so in March 2010 was when I started working. For the first time in my life, I did not work during those months from November or almost December to March in 2010. I watched a lot of Criminal Minds during those times. And a lot of other detective, that's my kind of shows. So the first opportunity came with the city. Again, they were not concerned of my degree. They were concerned what I did in the past, how I did it. So when you look at education, when you look at the degree that I earned and the education that I gained towards a process of coming from studying and until I came here, it's the journey. It's a journey that really counted at the time. It's the process of how I got my degree, how I got my education, how I overcame all the challenges that I experienced from my law school to doing the work that I did to coming here. So as I've said, when I had my interview at the city, of course it was in my resume, but they were probably a little impressed by it, that, okay, here's someone who's a lawyer in the Philippines who's applying for a community connections worker. And I thought that was in my field. I could transfer the skills I had from the work that I did before in the Philippines to that work. Because it's connecting with people, connecting with community, organizing events, organizing activities for newcomers, getting them acquainted with the community as well. So that was the kind of job that I did for the city. And I thought, you know what? I did more than that before. So I was able to apply the skills I had before to that job with the city. And now came the job with the Welcome Center. So I applied for the job, and that was more, nothing legal about it, but it was more to my line of work because of the connections. Again, it was probably almost like a communications worker as well, but to a bigger degree, because you have other responsibilities. You had management, you had HR, you had finance, programs, and all of that you put together in that category, and it was all that and more. So applying the skills I learned as a lawyer and in the nonprofit world that I worked in before in the Philippines, and now to this new job with the Welcome Center, it was like just flipping channels. You know, it's still trying to think of parallelism. It's still news, but just a different channel. I will not mention which channel because I might not mention the right channel to the right people here. But it's that parallelism. You just have to look for your strengths, where you're good at, where you are more comfortable with, and apply that to your current roles. It was so rich, my experience with the Welcome Center, relating with community, connecting with people, connecting with so many different organizations. Okay. So that was my career path here in Canada before this job. So again, I asked the question, what did I do after that? Education in Canada and the Philippines is quite different, and in many other countries. I was a product of the public school system in the Philippines. By public school system, it's so different from here. It's free education in elementary in the public school system, but you're lucky if you are in section 1. So they divide you in sections. Section 1 depends on how big your community is, section 1 to section 10, or even more than that. I was in section 1. Who belongs to section 1? We always tease each other. Those who are beautiful, those who are rich, those who are intelligent. I'm in the third category. So they divide you to section 1, section 2. So I was in section 1. So you get the better teachers. You get the better resources. Those in section 10, I'm like, oh my God, they have the worst teacher, or things like that. So I was there. And now I think there are some secondary schools who are already free in the Philippines, the public school, but at the time, very rare was there. That was 40 years ago, so many years ago. So that was the school system I was able to study in. There was one very, very good program within that school. So we were connected with this very prestigious private school, and all boys Catholic private school, all their 4th years, and that's their grade 12 here. They provide tutoring services to us from this poor public school. By the time we were grade 6, at the time grade 6 is the primary school, then you go to high school. By the time you're grade 6, you are chosen. They choose several people or students, and they tutor you, and they provide you opportunity to take exams in prestigious private schools where you get scholarship. They call this program Tulong Dunong. It means, tulong means help, dunong means knowledge. So it's helping you to gain knowledge, literally. So I went to that program, and I was able to get into a scholarship into a good high school. That program instilled in me the value, the very first program that organized program that I've seen that really instilled in me the value of education and how it can change someone's life. Because imagine a public school with from poor families, and now you have one of your children taken out from that poverty because of the power of education. So this person now comes to a good high school, goes to a good high school, and most likely will go to a good university, and most likely will be able to get into a good job. Imagine if that person or that child did not have the opportunity. That child will probably just stay there and may or may not finish high school, may or may not go to university, and may or may not have a good job. So that experience instilled in me, and that's why I always try to give back or volunteer. I think because of that opportunity that was given to me at that young age, to be able to uproot myself from a poor situation and become the person that I am right now. By poor, I'm not saying poor compared to rich, because again, I don't think I can call myself rich. But just to have that opportunity to improve yourself. That program has helped hundreds and probably thousands of young children, and become, to have a better life, not just for them, but for their families, because that's what education did for them. So that was the background of my first encounter with an organized system, where education, where I've seen the power of education, forming people or young children taking young children from an unfortunate situation to a better situation. So when I said education in Canada is different from education in the Philippines, because here, I remember my son saying when he did a presentation on racism, because there were some young people who threw racist comments on him and called him Nazi, and my son said, you know what, education is free in Canada, maybe you should go back and learn your history and learn that I'm not a Nazi, and something like that, because it's free. From primary to secondary school, it's free, and I believe in Canada's probably, and I think it has a better school system than the public school in the Philippines. So the difference from uprooting that poor child in the Philippines to this level, I think it's so different from uprooting a Canadian child to some level, to the same level of work. I may be wrong, but because this person is coming from a really, really poor, hard background, from monetary-wise, maybe in every health-wise, everything. That little child from the Philippines, the poverty is just not comparable. I was in a settlement conference one time, and there was a presentation on, I think, soft skills and hard skills. The presenter said, immigrants, when they apply for work and they don't get the job, what do? They go back to school. He said, Canadians are so different, because Canadians have both the hard skills and, of course, excellent soft skills. By soft skills, communication, relating to people, all of that. Not just your education, but everything other than your education. So that's what he said. Immigrants don't try to develop their soft skills. Instead, their answer is to go back to school and study more. So if the interviewer says, you lack experience in accounting, so the immigrant would go back would take a two-year course, maybe a 2-month course, online course on accounting, and then go back to apply and maybe not get the job again. You lack skills in this and this, so they go back and enroll in some course again. So I looked at myself and thought, is that what I did? When I was working at the Welcome Center, and I was thinking that I have this degree, I was able to get this education. will I stop here? What do I do with my education? So I thought, you know what? I did it once. Let's see if I can do it again. So the process of challenging my degree, maybe as a result of my hard skills quest, not my soft skills quest. So I ask about the process of how I can challenge my degree. There were so many doubts in my mind because, one, I did not do my research before coming here. I did not ask. I did not. Coming to Canada was not a plan. So I was unprepared coming here, and it was probably more than 5 years already when I thought, you know what, let's try this. And I did. I submitted my paperwork. One of the challenges just then was, again, the unknown. I didn't know how much, monetary-wise. I thought, because I was listening to people, too expensive, too hard, too long, that was my fault. That was my mistake. If you want to do something, make sure you talk to the right people. Because most of the people I talked to never had an opportunity to do it. I should not be asking them what to do because they did not know what to do themselves. And many of newcomers are like that. Like, oh, someone said, he said, she said. So it's not getting the right information. So when I finally did submit my paperwork and the results came less than 2 months, I was surprised. I wasn't ready. Basically, that it came back and the certificate told me you have passed the screening process, you can now go ahead and either go back to school or take the exams, challenge the exams. I wasn't ready for that because I wasn't expecting the result to come back soon. So what do I do now? So I didn't have to do it, but I secured a loan from, good thing I had a friend from the credit union who was able to secure a loan for the books and the payment for the exams and all of that. I bought all the books. I was going to take 10 exams. I bought all the books. I said, I will read all the books and next year I will start my exam. Big, big mistake. I was given 5 years to challenge the exam. I thought I would do it in 2 years. But of course, that wasn't me. I was given 5. Why would I finish it in 2 years? So I bought all the books already. And you know how law books are? Neil? Law books change as fast as you change your clothes or things like that. I bought chapters, edition 7, and by the time I was about to take the exam, I needed edition 10 already of the book. Sad, actually. And just said, you know what? There are probably not that many changes. And I was just looking at secondary resources in order to complement. So those are the things that was like, yeah, because I did not do my research. I did not plan that well. And that's the case for many immigrants. I once did an article, Road to Professionalism, Experiences of Internationally Trained Professionals in Small Communities. I talked with dentists, doctors, accountants, and from their other countries, engineers. And they all complained that the process is hard and long and expensive. Then I talked to an HR person. She said, you know what? Those people who said they're long, hard, and expensive, they haven't done anything actually. How did they know it was long, hard, and expensive? Because they just assumed, or someone told them. But it is long, hard, and expensive. But it is not impossible, because the way, the thing is, for me, at the time, there were so many assumptions, and I haven't tried actually to find out really what the process was. And as soon as I did it on my own, right now, looking back, I can tell to someone who will go through that process and tell that person, you know what? You can do it. This is the process. And do not make the same mistakes as I did, because this is what I did, and maybe you should go a different route and do it this way. So one key learning from that experience was, start something before you complain. Because most of the people I have interviewed and asked what they did, the first thing they did was to complain that it was hard, long, and expensive. It's not that long. It could be hard, not that long. You do it at your own pace. Especially in Saskatchewan, although Saskatchewan is quite late in a lot of those credential recognitions, both for nurses. That's why we're losing a lot of nurses who are here in Saskatchewan but doing their recognition somewhere else. They have to leave and go somewhere else because Saskatchewan requires much, much more. And I heard Calgary now is doing accreditation for lawyers as well. They have 1 year, 2 year course for internationally trained lawyers that they can take those exams here. But here, when I went to the University of Saskatchewan and asked for anything support, they said, no, we do not have internationally trained professionals, internationally trained lawyers. So most of it really you have to do on your own if there's no other support from the school, from the community. Basically, you have to do it on your own. So as I said, I was given 5 years to complete, to do my education. I had no time to go to school, to go back to school. I was working full-time. I have a family to feed. I just cannot do it through the school system. So what I did was challenge the exams. I was being from a non-common law jurisdiction. I had to take 10 exams, or actually 9 was the required. But since I applied 5 years after coming to Canada, I was required to do 1 more. So I had to do 10. Those are coming from common law jurisdictions like India, South Africa, what else? Many more. I believe they were required 5 subjects for the exam, to do the exam. So I had to do double of those exams. The first exam I took was constitutional law. I thought it's the basis of all the laws, and so I took the exam and I passed it. So I said, okay, at least I know how to answer the questions. I passed, so there's hope. Come the fourth year, and this was COVID year already. I still had 5 exams to take because I was delaying, and I had so many other things I was doing. So this last year, I cannot afford to fail a subject because that was, you can take it 3 times because I just didn't have time. At some point, I almost gave up. Because I didn't have enough time. I was busy, let's just say. I was busy doing so many things. I almost gave up at some point. Then the results of 2 other exams came, and he said I passed those exams. So I said, okay. I was looking for a sign. And I was ready to give up if I failed those 2 exams. Because if I failed those 2 exams, I just wouldn't be able to catch up. I passed them, so I said, okay, this is probably a good sign. I will proceed with 3 more exams. The 3 exams were criminal law, evidence, and torts. Those are 3 of the hardest. I passed the criminal exam and the evidence exam. Nailed them, I thought, because those are my favorite subjects. Not necessarily my favorite field, but my favorite subjects. Torts was the biggest challenge to me. I don't know why. I had a really good grades in torts in the Philippines. The way the questions phrased, the way I phrased my answers, the way the examiner scores them. Because one time when I failed torts exams, so that year I failed it, and then after about 3 months they gave it again. There was another group. That other group told me, because during my group, I think 90% of us who took the exam failed. The next group that took it, they said, all of us, almost probably 90% of us passed the exam. So I was like, ooh, wrong timing. I should have delayed it to 3 months before taking it. But I had to do some other things in order to be able to pass the torts exam. It was not illegal, don't worry. It was within when I said I had to do something else. Something legal and within the system, I have to explain. Finally passed it, and 10 exams were finally completed. That took me more than 5 years. I had to file an extension because of changes during the COVID, and actually, one thing good that COVID did to me was that I was able to extend it, to extend my period, and it took me longer than 5 years. With so much prayers and help from other people who were able to back me up and say, you know what, you can do it, you proceed. Went through the process of, there's what they call a 9-month prep, a CPLED, so I went through that and finally was able to be hired at Anderson and Company. So now I can say, I'm a practicing lawyer. My name is Icasiana de Gala, and I am a practicing lawyer in Saskatchewan. So for those who are educators who are here, you probably are this is not the presentation you're expecting, but really this is my story of how I went through this process and how education, or pursuing that education, has empowered me, and I hope to empower other people, and especially other newcomers who are going through this process as well. Because it is very common for a newcomer, especially women, when I was still at the Welcome Center, come to the Welcome Center and say, Icasiana, please help me find work, any work. So I would say, let me see your resume. And she would have 3 degrees. There was a lady from India with even PhD, and I said, do you need to work right now? She said, no. Do you have kids? No. You're married? Does your husband have work? Yes. Okay, you will not get hungry for the next 3 months if you just wait, maybe there's something that will come up that you'd be more interested in. When you say, I'm willing to work any job, look at yourself. I'm not saying this because we are looking down on other jobs, on any job, but really look at your capability, your capacity. Is there something in fast jobs or anywhere where you think you could apply your prior learning, your prior experience to any of the jobs that are listed here? And maybe try that first. If after 3 months you haven't found the job yet, maybe you can do whatever you find. But give yourself that chance. Give yourself first that opportunity to look for something that is more appropriate for you, because you have studied, you have achieved that degree, you have achieved that education, and maybe you will not find something that is exactly what you've been doing before. You cannot find that right away. But you have to give yourself that chance to look for that and to go through that process of learning, of adapting, and maybe learning those soft skills in the process, so that next time you go and apply for work, that interviewer would say, okay, she has soft skills as well. And I will continue to advocate for that and say that to anyone who asks me and tell me, I need a job, any job, right now. I think let me just share something that I once presented before a group of middle school girls here. I was invited, and I did tell my story to them, and the moderator asked them, so what did you learn from the presentation? 3 girls stood up and said, one said, success takes time. And these are 12-year-old girls. Another said, believe in yourself. The third one says, and I made a mistake here, I wrote 2 times, success takes time, believe in yourself. And now I forget what the third one said. But in those lines, these are 12-year-old girls who summed up my experience in the more than 50 years of my life in those 3 sentences. Success takes time, believe in yourself. And there's another more, it will come out later. But it's a lesson I will impart to everyone, to whoever I come across with. Thank you. That's okay.
Anyone have any questions before she runs away?
I do. Thank you, Icasiana. That was a wonderful presentation about empowerment. I really enjoyed it. My name is Jake Kimball. I'm a Saskatchewan NDP candidate for Swift Current, and it really resonated with me when you mentioned that nurses and lawyers and immigrants coming here and then having a real struggle with being acknowledged and certified in the crafts and trades and education that they have, and having to move away to seek support. I guess 2 parts. Do you have, other than the Newcomer Center and in being able to empower people to persevere as you are, do you have any ideas of how that can be improved or fast-tracked? I'm very curious. And I guess, and are the people, after they get accredited, moving back? Are they, if they go out of province, and then are they coming back? Could you answer those 2 parts?
I should be asking that to you.
Yeah, I want to know from your experience.
From my experience, well, a lot of people leave because a lot of immigrants leave because of the search for better opportunities, is how I would say it. And I say the example of nurses because nursing, a lot of nurses come here from India and the Philippines who end up going or leaving because of the different, or not easier, the lesser requirements from other provinces like Ontario and even BC. And do they come back? I hope Saskatchewan will soon catch up with the other provinces. And I know we've talked with the people involved as well in the past on how to improve the credentials, the accreditation for especially nurses, since we have a shortage of nurses here. Do they come back? It takes a long time for, if again, just the example of nurses, most of them do not come back anymore. Because once you're connected to the community, then you stay there. And if you have better opportunity, salaries is what I would say, better salaries there, then why come back to, if your salary to where you're coming back is much lower. It's not just the nurses. I know, of course, doctors as well. As I've said, for lawyers, not Calgary, Alberta already has a system where they have a program within the University of Calgary itself, a 1-year, 2-year program for internationally trained professionals, lawyers. I know dentistry is still quite hard. So for people in the government, there would be a lot of maybe learnings from other provinces on how to make the situation better, so as to attract more people here, not just immigrants, but also Canadian-born citizens Canadian-born who are pursuing a career in those different areas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you kind of made a comment about going at your own pace. And as you were explaining kind of the Philippine education system with the sections, I was just curious because, like, right now you hear so much about, say, violence in the classrooms. I mean, bullying's always been a thing, and, a lot of neurodivergency people learning at different rates. Do you think there's things the Canadian education system can take from, because let's face it, a lot of this society is based on blue-collar workers. We need the trades, we need people building. There's people, because the Canadian system isn't perfect, and I feel, anyways, just what do you feel about maybe the Canadian system could take from the Philippine education system, and could there be...
When I say I'm taking my own pace when I was doing my career, my credential recognition, I could have done it in 2 years, but I was taking my own pace because of the things I was doing on the side. This is unusual. This is a first question, unusual question for me on how Canada could learn from Philippine education system. I've been out of the Philippines for quite a long time, but as I've said, in Canada, from primary to secondary system, it's free education. It's very rare in the Philippines that you would see that in many areas where from primary and secondary to secondary. There are some high schools now that offer free education, public school education, but the quality of education may not be the same compared with if you're studying in a private education in the Philippines, whereas in Canada, whether you study in private, as far as I know, I think, whether you study in private or public school, you have the same curriculum, you have the same probably qualities of teachers, things like that. What I think that Canada could learn from the Philippines in that situation is when, and in the Philippines there could be 60 at least students in a classroom. Especially for public schools. If you've heard of schools under a mango tree, that is really happening in some areas of the Philippines. And well, there's no mango trees here, maybe under an apple tree here. But just I hate the word, I hate to use the word resilience, but I cannot find the right word right now, but just the resilience of the teachers and the students themselves, of being in that situation where learning still takes place despite the situation in the classroom, where there's so many people within the classroom, where they probably don't have, I have so many pens, I have so many pencils, I have so many pads of paper at my disposal. I remember the classrooms in the Philippines where they had to borrow each other, pens and pencils, and when the teacher asked you for a crosswise or lengthwise paper, we had to ask from someone else because I didn't have a crosswise or a lengthwise paper, But then you see that there's so much, probably either surplus or things within the Canadian system that you will not find within the Canadian school, within the Philippine school system, but learning still happens because of just the resilience of people. That this is an opportunity. Maybe that's the thing because it's free, sometimes it's taken for granted. Whereas here, it's also free, but they probably walk 3 miles in order to get to school. Things like that. So it's I don't know if I answered your question, but just that awareness of the importance of learning, maybe, to put it in a simple way.
What was the last exam that you wrote? I didn't understand.
Torts. Tort. When there's an accident, let's say, and things like that. When Neil torts. That's the simplest example. There's a road accident and someone got hit, things like that, or what the craziest thing about it? Yeah, that's. Any other questions? So I forgot to say at the beginning that my presentation will not cover, you mentioned skills, traits, and I'm not setting aside that those are but that was for another talk. Skills, trades, and all of that. So the value there, you cannot measure the value of learning through trades, but again, that's for another presentation. Maybe not my presentation.
If I just make one comment from Anderson Company, we're so delighted to have Shauna with us. It's a great honor, and she brings a whole new perspective on the practice of law. We much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Icasiana, and thank you for inspiring us all to persevere. I'm going back to school right now, and you make me believe that, I'll get through it, and it's not as bad, because I'm taking a law class right now, and it's terrifying. So I will do it, but thank you for helping me get there. Our October talk will be on the 16th with Miss Mary Thomas talking about open ranges in Saskatchewan and stories and characters from a time before fences. Lunch that day will be catered by Country Hills Catering. Also, Culture Days kicks off this Friday evening at 7 p.m. with a talk at the museum by Gabrielle LaMarche, who will be talking and doing an interactive talk on the rich history of lithic tools from the Anishinaabe culture. Through the lens and his expertise in flint knapping, Gabrielle will guide us through a journey of time, revealing how stone tools were crafted, traded, and used. Then on Saturday from 9 to 2, Culture Fest will be held at Market Square, where there'll be lots of different free activities, performances on the stage, different food vendors, the farmers market, orange shirt decorating, blacksmith demonstrations, cowboy poetry, henna tattoos, learning some basic pottery techniques, kite building, and the Archeo Caravan, and so much more. And finally, before you sneak out, please check out our exhibits, the ones we met. It's a traveling exhibit about the Franklin expedition. It will be moving out next week, and then we will be installing a show called The Wounded, which is a photographic display of veterans from Afghanistan. We also are doing a puzzle exchange right now, so if you have a puzzle that you want to exchange and get something different, feel free to visit our collection over there. And we are also doing a used book sale right now. So any books that we are ready to help find new homes are for sale by donation in our back hallway on your way out. Thank you again for coming, and we hope to see you next month.